Hi everyone. Today I'm sharing a very personal story. It is a struggle that I have had for many years and I have silently been dealing with this illness. This started in 2014. I started to notice that I was losing a lot of weight. I was having difficulty actually gaining weight. I noticed that I was exhausted all the time and my mood was getting worse and worse, and due to the pressures of life and my very high stress business, I noticed that I was going deep into depression. I knew there was something very abnormal wrong with me, and I went from doctor to doctor. Initially, they told me I was a type 2 diabetes and it's something that I could reverse. So I changed my lifestyle, I tried to be more healthy, and nothing made a difference. All I saw was my sugar going higher and I was losing more weight. And I'm sure all of you noticed from my Instagram that I had become extremely thin. Everybody was praising me that I looked great, but deep inside I felt horrible. Finally, one day when I had given up on all the doctors, I went to my naturopath, Dr. Naz, and he had a lot of success in reversing type 2 diabetes. When I went to him, instantly from one blood test, he told me, you are a type 1. However, it's a type 1.5, which is called LADA. It's late autoimmune diabetes in adults. This is a type of diabetes which is quite rare. It is not hereditary. It is an abnormality you have in your pancreas, which could be actually dormant for many years. The only thing that aggravates it is either a virus or a highly stressed life or shock to your system. Now, I've experienced both. When I was a child, I had meningitis. And from that, I realized at that age, I started having a lot of digestive problems my entire life, which, of course, all the doctors told me I had a gastric problem. After that, when I started noticing these severe things, the next stage of when I saw in my life that it was highly triggered and I genuinely couldn't even keep food down was when my mother passed away suddenly. So that was another stress shock situation. So over the years, this was in my body, which I did not realize, and different things were triggering them. Finally, when I was correctly diagnosed, thanks to Dr. Naz, he helped me understand that I needed to be instantly on insulin because I was at high risk of being in a ketosis state. And this is very important to know because for 4 years I was misdiagnosed by diabetic doctors, which I find very shocking. How a naturopath diagnosed my case instantly while I had been going to hospitals and doctors and none of them could identify the situation. All they told me is increase your insulin, and by increasing my insulin, I could not see any difference. However, once I was correctly diagnosed, the next stage of this was basically having a complete lifestyle change. To me, interestingly, many people felt very sorry for me that you're too young to be a type 1 diabetic. Many people actually told me don't share it with the world, like it was something I should hide. Here, what to me, it was honestly a blessing because I finally, after decades, found out what was wrong with me. I could finally enjoy my food and keep it down without having the fear of how I would react to something. I finally had my mood under control where I didn't have heightened emotions or I could not sometimes feel anything and I was so cold. So I finally had me back, which was amazing. Once I started having the correct treatment, having my insulin controlled, the next struggle I had was basically emotionally understanding my disease. And unfortunately, due to not having a lot of knowledge in the community, around this disease, or even having access to support groups where I could at least get advice from people going through the same thing, it made me feel very isolated. And this is a very common thing all of us who have diabetes say, that we feel very isolated, because after a while you start trying to adapt your personality to people so they don't take how you're feeling or how you're reacting personally. And what they don't understand is that when, for example, we have our sugar is low, you actually feel your entire body paralyzed. You cannot move. And you, even when a person's talking to you, you cannot comprehend what they're telling you. Or when you have a very high level of readings, you have such a severe migraine that you cannot stand even being around yourself, forget people. So it took me a very long time to basically sort of mold my personality so people would not get so affected or feel sorry for me, or even sometimes stay away from me due to me having diabetes. It's, as I said, and the knowledge of emotional intelligence has to be honestly encouraged and learned by everyone. And it wasn't all such a bad experience. The positive side of it is, number one, it made me aware that I have to take care of myself. I completely changed my lifestyle. I even filtered negativity in my life, whether it was practices I was doing, the amount of hours I was working, even friends or family that I was mixing with. I made sure that the priority was my state of mind. Once I cleared that, the next step was to understand this disease on an emotional level. Here is when I finally found a great center, Glue Care, which is a new age integrated way of addressing this disease. In this center, it's literally a one-stop shop to a diabetic heaven, basically. Because here, the doctors not only work on what your blood reports are or your medication, they look at your nutrition, they look at your state of mind. You have a 24-hour actually access to a group chat where you can refer to them at any point in time, whatever you are feeling, and they instantly answer you. And the best part of it is they have now created a support group for type 1 and type 2 diabetes, which has honestly made my 2022 was a great year, because this support group gave me a safe place to be myself. It made me feel happy that I could be normal again, I could be understood again. And in this whole journey, what I learned is that you come first. If you are not healthy, if you don't take care of yourself, nothing else in your life will work. So I am very grateful, as I said, that I actually have this disease, because it was my wake-up call. At the same time, I do encourage that when you are diagnosed with diabetes, the first thing that you do need to ask your doctor is to do a test to specify if you are a LADA diabetic, because there is a special test for that, which I recommend you go to a doctor and get more medical information on that basis. I made this video to make awareness because this is a very rare type. You cannot detect it because instantly people, when they are tested, they're first diagnosed as a type 2, and then eventually they tell you turn into type 1, but actually that's not the case. You need to be instantly on insulin, because that's the only thing that will keep this disease under balance. And finally, having type 1 diabetes is not a death sentence. As long as it's controlled, you have a completely normal life. And honestly, I have excelled. I like who I am now. I am more authentic to myself. And this is why I made this video, because I want to share with you my truth and the true facts about being a type 1 diabetic.